conflict that is resolved well can improve a relationship, whether romantic, family, or work. Every relationship experiences breakdowns of expectations or missed commitments. What you do in response to the breakdown can strengthen or harm trust, the basis of all relationships. Here are 5 phrases that harm a relationship. I'll also share phrases and approaches that move you towards trust and a healthy resolution of the conflict. Let's get to it. Phrase 1, deny or minimize. You're making a big deal out of nothing. You miss an opportunity to connect through empathy when you deny, minimize, negate, or dismiss the other person's feelings or perspective. Denial is even worse when there's a personally defining, permanent label you put with the denial. You're just too sensitive, or you're always looking for problems that aren't there. If you are the person responding, start with empathy. I can see you're really upset about this. I see this differently, so let's unwrap this in a way that leads us to the best outcome. We all want to feel heard and acknowledged. Even if you feel that the other person is exaggerating, reflect back on their mood and let them know how you're feeling and the outcome you want. I can see this is really upsetting you, and I'm feeling defensive right now. I want us to sort through this to resolve this in the best way possible. If the other person really wants the same, the best solution, they will respond well to this approach. If they are using conflict to try to control you, they will resort to one of the other phrases or tactics such as Phrase 2, character labels. You never listen to me. Never, always, these personally defining permanent labels work against a conflict resolution that works for both people. Some people use these character labels to amp up the power of their accusation. It is much better to identify the specific situation and the emotion you attach to it. I'm feeling frustrated right now because I see that you didn't get the garbage to the curb in time for the pickup. Anytime you use labels like "you're crazy" or "you're so lazy," you create barriers to resolving the conflict in the best way. That brings us to Phrase 3, motive attribution. You're just trying to manipulate me. They might be doing just that. But it's not helpful to project motive onto the other person. We know what we've seen, the specifics, but we don't really know what the other person is thinking. So stick with what you've seen, the specifics, if you want to resolve the conflict in a productive way. You're accusing me rather than directly answering my concerns. Do you have insights on what I brought up or not? Again, reflecting back to the person what you're specifically seeing is much better than attributing motive to their actions. Phrase 4, telling the other person what they should or shouldn't do. You really need to calm down right now. Have you ever calmed down when someone told you to do so? Me neither. Yes, when the other person is calm, you're in a much better position to resolve a conflict. And it doesn't help to command them to do so. Instead, say something like, "I think we'll resolve this when we're calm and clear about the facts." Can we do that now? Or is it better to discuss this later? Phrase 5, using fear, accusation, or guilt. People who are concerned about this are trying to destroy this country. Fear, accusation, or guilt is a diversion tactic used by people who are trying to shift the focus away from them to you. There's no need to label them for doing so. Just point out the specifics of what you're seeing and try to get the conflict conversation back on track. Yes, I have concerns, and no, I'm not trying to destroy the country. I want to resolve the issue I just brought up. Accusation is a blame game. If you bring up an issue with anger and accusation, the other person is likely to be on their heels with defensiveness. If you bring up something and they counter-accuse you, it's a game that you can win by refocusing on the issue you brought up. For example, if you are a supervisor concerned about the pattern of later arrivals by an employee, they might accuse you of being a bad supervisor when you bring it up. Just refocus. We can talk about my work as a supervisor later, but right now, I want to focus on your arrival time, as this is putting a hardship on the rest of the team. The use of fear and guilt are like accusations in that they are intended to frighten the other person or shame them. They're not helpful and usually put the other person on the defensive rather than on a path to resolve the conflict in the best way possible. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, conflict is an opportunity to either make the relationship stronger or to destroy it. When we try to minimize what the other person is saying without showing that we understand, we move towards destroying it. Labeling the other person is not helpful, but creates barriers that make resolution more difficult. Attributing motives to the other person rather than identifying specific behaviors makes resolution more difficult. When we command the other person to be calm or do something, it works against a mutually satisfying solution. Finally, using fear, accusation, and guilt creates defensiveness, making the conflict much harder to resolve. So don't do it. Make conflict an opportunity to acknowledge the other person's emotions, stay focused on a win-win resolution, and manage your emotions. And you'll win. Thanks for joining us today at the Change Capability Institute.